Hi and welcome to Berges Institute. So at the end of this video, we're gonna have a conversation entirely in Spanish, even if you've never studied Spanish before. If you watch the whole video and you follow along and you take notes, at the end, we'll be able to have this little conversation 100% in Spanish. Let's do it. So the first thing I want to teach you is 4 basic personal pronouns. I'm going to give you the Spanish equivalent for the pronouns I, you, he, and she. I is going to be yo. You is going to be tú. He is going to be él. And she is going to be ella. And be careful with this last one, because even though it has 2 L's, it's pronounced ella. Can you say it with me? Perfect, ella. Great, let's move on. Let's learn the verb ser, which is one of the verbs that we have in Spanish for to be, and it's the one that we are going to use in this conversation. We use ser for saying that we are from somewhere. So for saying I am, we are going to say yo soy. For saying you are, we're going to say tú eres. And for saying he is, we'll say él es. Lastly, for saying she is, we'll say ella es. So in English, we can't drop the pronoun. Even though am can only go with I, it's not allowed in English saying am from New York. We have to say I am from New York. However, in Spanish, not only is it allowed, but it's also encouraged. Like we tend to do that a lot. For saying I am, instead of saying yo soy, we usually say soy. For saying you are, instead of saying tú eres, we usually say eres. And for saying he is or she is, we just say es. And we'll know whether it's he or she based on the context. Now I'm going to give you some random words. Where is going to be donde. Can you say it with me? Perfect, donde. From is going to be de. De, perfect. And 2 conjunctions. Or is going to be o. And is going to be I. It's just a Y, but it's pronounced I. So or, o, and I. Perfect. So for asking someone, where are you from? It's going to be very similar in Spanish. The only thing is that the order is going to be a little bit different. We are going to say from where you are. So de donde eres. From where you are. And in Spanish, we also need an inverted question mark at the beginning of the question. So where are you from? ¿De dónde eres? So I'm going to ask you, where are you from? ¿De dónde eres? And you are going to reply, I am from Boston. So that will be soy de Boston. Can you ask me where am I from? I'll wait. Great, so you probably said something like, Dan, ¿de dónde eres? And I'm going to reply, soy de Madrid. Perfect. Let's learn one more verb. To have, tener. So for saying I have, we're going to say yo tengo, or even better, tengo, without the pronoun. For saying you have, we could say tú tienes, but instead of that, we'll say tienes. And for he has or she has, we could say él tiene, ella tiene, but we'll just say tiene. Great. One more word. Brother in Spanish is going to be hermano. Note the H is silent. We just ignore it. We say hermano. Can you say it with me? Perfect. Hermano. And for saying sister, we just have to swap the final O for an A. So instead of hermano, for sister, we'll say hermana. Can you say it with me? Hermana. Perfect. So remember, or was o. So if we want to ask someone, do you have brothers or sisters? In Spanish, there is no do you. We'll just say, you have brothers or sisters? And we'll just intonate it like a question. So that will be, ¿tienes? Remember, tienes is you have. ¿Tienes hermanos o hermanas? So before we answer this question, let's learn numbers 1 to 5 in Spanish. So 1 is going to be uno, 2 is going to be dos, 3 is going to be tres, 4 is going to be cuatro, and 5 is going to be cinco. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco. One last thing though, for uno, we just use uno when counting. When we are talking about one brother or one sister, for one brother, we'll say un, and for one sister, we'll say una. So one brother, un hermano. One sister, una hermana. Great. So I was asking you whether you have brothers and sisters. Let me ask you and see if you can reply. ¿Tienes hermanos o hermanas? And you would reply something like, I have one brother and one sister. So that would be tengo un hermano y, remember and is y, una hermana. So again, do you have brothers or sisters? ¿Tienes hermanos o hermanas? And then you would say, I have one brother and one sister. Tengo un hermano y una hermana. Great, can you ask me whether I have brothers or sisters? I'll wait. Great, so you probably said something like, Dan, ¿tienes hermanos o hermanas? And I'm going to answer, tengo una hermana. I have one sister. Perfect. Let's learn one more verb, the verb to live, vivir. Notice that it's spelled with a V, but we don't say vivir. In Spanish, we pronounce V's like B's. So, vivir, to live. To say I live, we could say yo vivo, but instead we'll say vivo. For saying you live, we could say tú vives, but we'll say vives. And for saying he lives or she lives, we could say él vive or ella vive, but we'll drop the pronoun and just say vive. Perfect. 2 last words, and then we'll have our whole conversation in Spanish. In is going to be en, very similar. And then hello, it's going to be hola. So with the verb to live, for asking someone where do you live, we'll just ask where you live. And that will be ¿dónde vives? Vives is you live. So where do you live? ¿Dónde vives? And you'll say something like I live in Los Angeles. Vivo en Los Angeles. So can you ask me where do I live? I'll wait. Perfect, so you probably said something like, Dan, ¿dónde vives? And I'm going to reply, vivo en Madrid. Perfect. So we are ready for our conversation in Spanish. We're going to rehearse it first. So I'm going to start saying, hi, I'm Dan. Hola, soy Dan. And then you'll say, hi, I am Peter or I am Mary. You'll just say your name. Hola, soy Dan. And then you'll say, hola, soy, and your name. Perfect. Then I'm going to ask you, where are you from? ¿De dónde eres? And then you are going to reply, I am from this place. Where are you from? So you'll say something like, soy de wherever. ¿De dónde eres? Then I'll say, I am from Madrid. Soy de Madrid. And then I'm going to ask you, where do you live? ¿Dónde vives? And you'll say, I live in wherever. Vivo en Los Angeles or wherever. And then you are going to ask me back, where do you live? ¿Dónde vives? And I'll say, I live in Madrid. Vivo en Madrid. And I'm going to ask you, do you have brothers or sisters? ¿Tienes hermanos o hermanas? And then you're going to say, I have 2 sisters and 1 brother, or whatever. So something like, tengo 2 hermanas y un hermano. And then you're going to ask me back, do you have brothers or sisters? ¿Tienes hermanos o hermanas? And I'm going to tell you that I have 1 sister. Tengo una hermana. And I'm going to ask you, where do your brothers and sisters live? ¿Dónde vive tu hermano y dónde vive tu hermana? This might not match what you told me, but it's okay. And you'll say, my brother lives in wherever and my sister lives in this other place. So, mi hermano vive en Boston, mi hermana vive en Washington, D.C. Perfect. And then you are going to ask me, where does my sister live? ¿Dónde vive tu hermana? And I'm going to say, my sister lives in Phoenix. Mi hermana vive en Phoenix. And that's our whole conversation. Perfect. Are you ready? Let's do it. Hola, soy Dan. ¿De dónde eres? Soy de Madrid. ¿Dónde vives? Vivo en Madrid. ¿Tienes hermanos o hermanas? Tengo una hermana. ¿Dónde vive tu hermano y dónde vive tu hermana? Mi hermana vive en Phoenix. So how was it? Great! Thank you so much for having this little conversation with me in Spanish, and I'll see you in the next video.